All right, everyone, welcome to the Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025 Toronto City Council work session. And I believe I saw everyone. I see council member Swarthout in the list. Just a second. Yes, I did. All right. I believe we are ready to go. All right. So with that, the first item we have is the regional transportation plan presentation. And Brandon Hicks will be starting that. So welcome, Brandon.
Thank you. So, good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm really just here to introduce Thurston Regional Planning Council's transportation manager, Katrina Van Every. She's going to be discussing the Regional Transportation Plan, otherwise known as the RTP. It is one of several regional planning groups or efforts the city participates in. The RTP outlines regional transportation needs as required by state and federal regulations, and it is updated every 5 years. And so this year is one of the updates. So for now, I guess I'll just hand it off to Katrina.
Thanks, Brandon. And I'll go ahead and share my screen and get this going. And we'll try to keep it to a minimum, but thank you for letting me be here this evening and talk to you about the Regional Transportation Plan. I am Katrina Van Every, and I am the Transportation Manager for TRPC. And that essentially means my job is to make sure we're meeting our state and federal obligations. TRPC has been planning. It's been in existence for more than 50 years. We've been planning along with the Growth Management Act and federal regulations as they've changed. We currently have 23 members, and both Council Member Swarthout serves on our council, and Council Member Agabi serves on our Transportation Policy Board. TRPC's work focuses on areas where boundaries between jurisdictions and organizations blur. So areas like transportation, growth management, environmental quality, economic opportunity, sustainability. And our job and our mission is to provide visionary leadership on regional plans, policies, and issues for the benefit of all Thurston region residents. So we do this with doing a lot of different things. And one of those things is the Regional Transportation Plan. So what is the RTP? In Thurston County, we've taken a regional approach to transportation planning since the first Regional Transportation Plan study in 1975. So we're an old hand at this. We have continued to build on that foundation with regular updates to our regional strategies. We do this because we know roads don't know boundaries. Transportation needs to work as a cohesive system without dramatic changes across jurisdiction boundaries. Transportation, land use, and economic prosperity are all closely linked and need both a local and regional viewpoint. And maximizing the benefits of all transportation modes, transit, active transportation vehicles, is most efficiently accomplished at a regional scale. And so the Regional Transportation Plan is really our roadmap for what a complete and high-functioning transportation system should look like over the next 25 years. So I'm going to cut to the chase. What are the key takeaways folks should know? First is that our growing population is going to lead to increased traffic volumes, and the projects in the RTP will help mitigate vehicle congestion associated with this growth. But we also know that our planned land use and roadway capacity improvements alone will not be sufficient to meet regionally adopted targets, goals, and level of service or congestion standards. We can still make good progress on our regionally adopted targets and goals, which will help us reduce congestion or level of service failures in the future. So what's in the plan? It's a 25-year planning horizon. So
I have a question. Can you go back to the previous slide, please, Katrina? Okay, so our region's plan land use and roadway capacity improvements alone will not be sufficient. Why is that?
Well, there's a mismatch, and I would say between our planned land use and what we say our targets and goals are. And so I'll go into that a little bit more as we go through this.
Okay,
So again, in the plan, it's a 25-year planning horizon. So we look forward to 2050. We look at all transportation modes. We have a set of regional goals and policies and recommendations to go with that plan. We have a financial forecast. The point of that is that this isn't supposed to be a pie in the sky plan. It's supposed to be based in reality. And so we are constrained financially by what we reasonably anticipate the funding to be available for all the transportation work that you guys do and other transportation partners in the region do. And then we also look at our future conditions. So taking all this information, what do we see happening in 2050? So areas of emphasis in the plan are safety, equity, climate change and greenhouse gas emissions reductions, maintaining the system that we have already invested in, and projects that continue to enhance transit options, emphasize system efficiency, strategically expand the system where it's appropriate, and plan for local and state roads as a cohesive whole. So back to those regional targets and goals that we're striving for. When we pull this plan together, we pull a lot of information from the jurisdictions, a lot of information from the state, and a lot of information from the federal sources to understand what does our system look like now and what can we expect it to look like in the future based on the inputs and the information we have on land use, transportation projects, and population. These are the goal areas and targets that we're striving for. First up is safety, is really reducing traffic fatalities and serious injuries to zero. That's target 0, which is a state adopted target as well. And what we're seeing right now is that serious injuries and fatalities have been increasing and going up in the last few years. And when you go back even 10 years or more, it is on an upward trajectory, even when it's sometimes dipping and going up. There's a lot of reasons for why that is. Not all that is known, but a lot of it can be construed with system behavior. People's behavior in the transportation system, whether that is drivers or pedestrians and bicyclists. We also see issues with road design that are an active area that jurisdictions and agencies are looking to fix. But there's a lot of things that go into that, and so this is an area that we're looking at. Another area or regional target that we have is increasing the share of households in urban areas and preserving our rural areas. This comes from Sustainable Thurston, which is a plan that was adopted in 2015. So it's a little 10 years old now. But we have consistently said that this is what we want to see happen, is that we see an increasing share of those households located in urban centers, corridors, and neighborhood centers. And what we're seeing is that while that number is slightly increasing, it's not increasing to the point where we're going to reach our goal of having 72% of all households within a half mile of those urban areas by 2035. And really seeing overall that no more than 5% of new housing being located in rural areas by 2035. And so that is a mismatch between what we say we want to see happen and the land use that is how we are developing. Another area target that we have is decreasing annual vehicle miles traveled per capita. This is an area where we actually see quite a bit of improvement. And so we are headed in the right direction on VMT per capita. But we have a growing region and population. And so when we take into consideration population and the miles that people travel, by 2050, we think we'll hit our 2035 goal but we're not going to be anywhere near hitting that 2050 goal. I want to note that some of these targets that we have espoused are really aggressive. And this is just one of those areas where we are trying to decrease our annual per capita VMT to 30% below what we had in 1990 by 2035 and 50% below our 1990 levels by 2050. And so it's a very aggressive target. And so yes, we are seeing improvements, but it's not at the pace that we would need to meet those targets. Same story with greenhouse gas emissions. Tumwater is one of the agencies or the jurisdictions that has adopted a climate mitigation plan that TRPC was helped develop for you all. And what we see is that we're, again, hopefully headed in the right direction with regard to the state policies that are being enacted to help support greenhouse gas emissions reduction. Joe, Councilmember Kathy, I see your hand up, or Kathy.
Yes, I've answered to many different names. So that's you were close for your first time. The question I want to ask is just general. When you talk about vehicles, are you talking about only cars?
We're talking about cars, buses, trucks. So you know, yeah, cars, buses, and trucks. So, and motorcycles. So those vehicles on the road. We're not talking about bicycles. We're not talking about electric bicycles or motorized wheelchairs, but those are the vehicles that we're talking about.
Okay, so one of my questions has always been, what about all the other trucks and things that are on, just here in Thurston County and on the road and doing things, because this is an economic issue for them to be able to get around, and a lot of the damage to the environment is by bigger trucks, commerce, freeways, that kind of thing. How does that play into seeing how Tumwater is doing, since we're right on a freeway and seem to be increasing some of our internal truck traffic? So just a question, because when vehicles come up, it only shows cars. So I was just curious about that. And
no, when we look at vehicle miles traveled per capita, it is all the miles traveled in the Thurston region. And I'll double check that, but I think that's how it is calculated. So it's the population versus all the miles traveled in the region. And you're right, there are different ways to calculate the impact of greenhouse gas emissions and vehicle miles traveled, depending on whether you're talking about passenger vehicles, are you talking about just the people who live in Thurston County? Are you talking about all the vehicles that pass through Thurston County? So I can get some clarity on that one.
Okay, and also is there any way that they find out, like even in Thurston County, the amount of truck traffic we have in the in the work and in the commerce and so forth within the county?
Yeah, so one thing that I'll note is that WSDOT actually tracks traffic on I-5 at specific locations, one of which is Nisqually River Bridges. And so they are able to parse out what are passenger vehicles versus what are larger vehicles like semi trucks and buses. And so if you actually take a data point at those Nisqually River Bridges, about 1 in 10 vehicles that crosses that location is a truck or a bus of some sort. So it's quite a bit of traffic. If you go to the southern end of the community or the county, the number is different. I don't know that one off the top of my head, but it's quite reduced. And that's because we see truck traffic dispersing to different locations within Thurston County and going in different directions.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So the next one that we have is decreasing greenhouse gas emissions. So This is associated with the targets or the region-wide targets that were overall targets adopted for greenhouse gas emissions reduction that you guys have in your climate mitigation plan. Thurston Regional Planning Council adopted those a few years ago as well. And so those overall targets are to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 45% below 2015 levels by 2030 and 85% below 2015 levels by 2050. So again, this is an example of a very aggressive target. What we know right now is that the trend that we have is that we're still seeing those greenhouse gas emissions go up. And the trend line that we would like to see is that they go down and really rely a lot on some of the state actions that have taken place with regard to the building code, with regard to EV vehicles and zero emission vehicles. But there are still other actions that need to happen in order to meet those really aggressive targets. Councilmember Delha.
Thanks, Katrina. Along those lines, full disclosure, I work for Department of Commerce doing state efficiency and environmental performance. And we just had a meeting today that for the greenhouse gas reporting that goes to ecology, it went up 1%. And so we're trending up, but progress has been made, right? There has been substantial growth and increases, right? But the Buy Clean, Buy Fair, the electric vehicle infrastructure, how do we pivot and address the changes like for our current kerfluffle with our budget when DES pulled $12.1 million for electric vehicle infrastructure? So we're trying to go this way, but then all the programs and the infrastructure we need to be successful are getting pulled and cut. How do we pivot?
That's a great question, and I don't necessarily have the answers. And to add more to that is the actions that are happening at the federal level that may also impact what the state is able to do. So I don't have a good answer for that one. I think it's something that we are all grappling with for an area of the country and of the state that really does prioritize and does want to see those greenhouse gas emissions reduced.
Katrina, in this work, I know at Commerce how we're pivoting is instead of the electrical vehicle infrastructure at state agencies, we're looking at home charging because it's cheaper, right? And it could be a gap and we need to build that infrastructure anyway. Are those things being looked at, or is there like a list of like, okay, there's no funding for this, this is getting pulled. Could we try this and like update our messaging and work with residents?
I would have to go back to the draft to see if we've talked about home charging. I do know that we do have a policy in the plan that says that when we're talking about that switch over in the transportation sector from gas-powered vehicles to EV vehicles and other zero-emission vehicles, that we need to make sure that those with household incomes below 80% or below the median household income aren't being left behind. And that does mean charging infrastructure available at home locations that are not single family homes. They're multifamily homes and other situations that people live in. Councilmember Von Holtz.
Thank you. I'm also wondering, and I'm thinking about Tumwater, I'm thinking about environmental justice and how does that come into play? I'm thinking how I-5 runs along, right through the middle of Tumwater. We have US 101. We also have an airport. So our communities have a lot of emissions and pollution. And how does that go into the planning that you all do?
Yeah, so this is another area that is, I would say, very, very much in flux. We developed this plan with different federal priorities, and environmental justice is one of those federal priorities that have been rescinded and found at least or purported to be illegal. But that is the umbrella that we had developed it under. And so where it is embedded in the plan is that we have multiple policies and goal areas that talk about environmental justice. One of the key things that we did was in 2021, we did a countywide transportation priority survey and presented a goal for equity that really speaks to equity and climate justice. environmental justice, excuse me. And that it was well supported by, you know, either approved or strongly approved by 71% of the respondents in that surveying effort. And we heard from over 4,000 people. So it was quite a robust response that we heard from people. And so we revised the plan to be consistent with that definition for, or that goal for equity. Other places that are included in the plan is in our environmental considerations chapter. We do talk specifically about environmental justice because it is still a state policy or state act. So complying with the HEAL Act, complying with the Climate Commitment Act. And environmental justice is very much still embedded in those state legislative actions. And so we do talk about the impact of vehicles on our air pollution and noise pollution. And so that's another area that it's embedded in there. All right, and the last one that we have is not actually a target. So the first four are actually targets that have been adopted at a region-wide level. What we have here is a goal to increase active transportation and transit use. And it's to really increase the share of those trips made safely and conveniently by bicycling, walking, and transit. This is currently a goal in the regional transportation plan. It is a goal that is carrying forward in the draft. But what we see, if we look at what's happening countywide, is that we aren't really seeing those numbers change at all. In 2050, about the same share of people are going to be using bicycles and walking and transit as a mode for their trips. And I think part of the struggle here is that as a region, we do not have a target that says, this is what it looks like to have a robust bicycling, walking, and transit. What share should be made by bicycling, walking, and transit. So this is an area that we see as an assessment area that requires more conversation at the regional level to set those targets and what makes sense. It also says, where are our priorities? Do we need to start shifting our priorities from funding different projects that we typically do, or do we need to start shifting it to seeing other things happen? I will say that when we look at the funding that is spent in our region by the jurisdictions and intercity transit on transportation maintenance and projects, etc., the funding that we spend on public transportation is more than half of what we spend overall, or what we expect to spend overall over the next 25 years. So it's not for lack of wanting to see that this change, but that's where we're at this point. Another thing that I really want to note and emphasize is that we are at a period of lots of change. You guys are working on your comprehensive plan update, which is due by the end of the year. We're working on our transportation plan, which is due mid-year. And so there's a little bit of a disconnect there between the changes that you all are looking at with regard to your comprehensive plan and how that's going to affect regional transportation. We don't see that embedded in the plan draft at this point in time because you're not done with your work. And so what I expect to happen over the next 5 years is that with the work that you guys are doing, with the work that we're doing on a regional basis to look at freight mobility, look at bicycle connectivity, look at multimodal level of service, looking at changing, requirements around housing and where we expect people will live in association or as a result of those changes. In 5 years, we may be talking about a different story. We just don't know at this point. Councilmember Agabi.
Thank you, Christina. So I don't want to tangentially derail this discussion. So my question is going to be from the lens of decreased greenhouse gas emission. So on Saturday, I met with two constituents that live here in Tumwater regarding what they perceive as the regional airport in Olympia building, well, construction and building are they alleged in a runway that that is able to accommodate a jet aircraft. So they were saying all these things based upon what they read and perceived to be what the master plan called for, but that's not what I read. So this took about 2 hours. So from TRPC perspective, do you know of any planned construction and increased runway at our regional airport that will lead to greenhouse gas emission in the future?
So I am not a Port of Olympia's staff person, and so I can't speak fully to the concerns of things that are happening at the Olympia Regional Airport. What I will say is that in the plan, we do have goals that are policies that say that we will be consistent with the Olympia Regional Airport Master Plan. And looking at the federal government's forecast for passenger service at the regional airport, it is not expected to change, and that means virtually 0 people being served at the airport between now and 2050. With regard to cargo service, I don't remember off the top of my head. I think there is an increase expected, but I don't know what the greenhouse gas emissions that are associated with that specifically are.
Okay, so part B of that question, thank you for indulging me. So if you say TRPC is aware of increased cargo transportation via that airport, is there would there be a super environmental impact that is required of the airport to be done? And I mean, if you don't have to answer if you don't know, because I don't want to put you on the spot.
Well, thank you for saying that, because I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. I think, yeah, I don't know, so I'll leave it at that. All right, any other questions before I move on? All right. So let's talk about how our region is going to change between now and 2050, and that's what's really in part affecting the targets that we've talked about. We're going to see 106,000 more people, and that's a 36% increase over 2022. We're going to see 58,000 more housing units. That's a 47% increase over 2022. 52,000 more jobs. That's a 32% increase. We're going to see 52,000 more people living near transit. That's a 26% increase. And when we talk about near transit, that's within a half mile of an intercity transit stop or a rural transit route. And I just want to make the distinction there, because intercity transit is a fixed route stop based system. So you have to be at a stop in order for a bus to pick you up. Rural transit operates a little bit differently. If you are anywhere along that route, and they can safely stop to pick you up, and you can flag the bus driver down, they will make that effort to stop for you where it's practicable. We're also going to see 80 different regional projects being constructed. And I do want to clarify that these are just regional projects. And by regional, I mean they are shown to impact the movement of vehicles on a regional basis. But it doesn't include every project that jurisdictions are building. A lot of those local projects that you guys have are important, but they aren't necessarily rising the level of a regional project. But when we talk about those 80 regional projects, we're looking at 18 miles of new roadways, 36 or more miles of new general purpose lanes and center turn lanes, 65 or more miles of new or rebuilt bicycle and pedestrian facilities, 29 or more miles of new multi-use trails, 3 new or realigned highway interchanges, and improved transit facilities and expanded service. So some of the projects in the RTP, those regional projects in the RTP that are relevant to Tumwater, a lot of capacity projects, so the Brewery District Transportation Project, Tumwater Boulevard interchange, the Mottman Road improvements that you and Olympia are going to be working on in a few years. We have new connections like the E Street connection and Tyee Drive extension. We have trail projects, the Deschutes Valley Trail and the Karen Fraser Woodland Trail phases 3 and 4. We have public transportation projects, so expansion of urban transit services and an innovative service zone study to see if IT can better serve its community in places that are harder to serve. We have more express service plans. We have smart corridors phase 4 that will hopefully improve the speed of traffic along the flow of traffic, not necessarily the speed, but the flow of traffic along important urban corridors. We also have some studies. So I believe right now Tumwater is working on the I-5 and 93rd Avenue interchange improvement study. TRPC is working on the bicycle connectivity strategy. We'll be working on the freight mobility strategy later this year. And then we also have a regional transportation safety action plan. So when you guys, again, think about all the work that you're doing with regard to your comprehensive plan and changing the way you prioritize what's important to your community. We also have a lot of work that's happening at Intercity Transit at TRPC that looks at a regional scale as well. So where we're at in the process is we do have a complete draft available. It is on TRPC's website and it is open for public comment right now. We will be bringing those comments and the revised draft based on those comments to our Transportation Policy Board in June for a recommendation. And then council, we're looking at them for them to take final action in July. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but my contact information is here. I welcome any questions that you have, and I am happy to try and suss out things that you're still interested in. But again, we absolutely encourage community members to participate and provide us feedback. We do go through each and every comment and respond in some manner. All the comments that we receive will be included in the regional transportation plan in one of the appendices so that you can see what was asked of us or what was asked and how we responded.
All right, any questions? I think you must have answered the questions while you're doing your presentation, so that's great. All right, and so Councilmember Swarthout sits on TRPC and Councilmember Agabi sits on the TPD. So if we have any questions, we can probably also send it through that too. So great. Thank you so much, Katrina.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
You bet. All right, next item on the agenda, and I will start out with City Administrator Parks is the Salish Landing briefing, and I will turn it over to Administrator Parks.
Great, thank you, Mayor. I am only going to provide a brief introduction and turn it over to a couple of gentlemen who have requested to be here tonight. So Mike Brewer and Rob Rice, as well as a couple of members of their team, have requested an opportunity to present to the council an overview of their project that's in the vicinity of Old Highway 99 and 93rd. The site is currently outside of Tumwater's urban growth area, but it is the subject of a current application that's being considered by Thurston County to be for potential inclusion in Tumwater's urban growth area. And so for that reason, we thought it was a great idea for them to come and present their project to you and answer any questions you might have, just to keep you informed moving forward, as this may come up in the near future for your consideration and or thoughts. So with that, I will turn it over to Mike. Mike, it looks like you and Rob are there in a nice white room, and hopefully it's padded. And please feel free.
Introduction and the opportunity. We are here to share information on our application to Thurston County, which involves an urban growth area swap. We'd like to provide a little background on what an urban growth area swap looks like, how it fits on the map of the Tumwater urban growth area, and of course answer any questions. So I will share my screen to bring up a couple of slides, and feel free to jump in and ask questions anytime. Are there any questions before we get started?
You're not in presentation mode yet. There we go. We got it.
Technologically challenged. So at the south end of Tumwater, the southeast corner, we have a 35-acre parcel, which is shown down here, and we have applied to Thurston County to do an urban growth area swap. And basically a swap is the goal is to not have a net increase in the area of an urban growth area. This was a process enabled by the 2022 legislature. And this particular process is considered during the 10-year periodic review. So this being a periodic review year, we are in the midst of Thurston County's analysis, which includes multi-jurisdictional conversation, in this case, of course, involving Tumwater. And the land that we have proposed to come out of the urban growth area is the outfall from Black Lake. It is the headwaters of Percival Creek, and it is not developable in terms of fiscal feasibility, environmental feasibility, and does not ever likely create the opportunity for urban density, which of course is the primary goal of the urban growth area. And so we have suggested that it is in the interest of the community to take these lots shown in this red box out of the urban growth area, which accounts for a little over 60 acres of land, and then bring about 40 of that acreage over to the southeast corner. Any questions thus far?
I don't see any hands.
The TRPC.
I take that back. Councilmember Swarthout, just raise your hand.
Trying to hit the bottom of the screen. Sorry, guys. So you're proposing that we're going to take 60 acres that we are not able to do anything with, and then swap that for 40 acres that can be developed. Is that what? And that's supposed to be the zero net gain. Is that as close? So I just want to double check the numbers there.
But that is correct. But we're actually proposing a net reduction in the size of the urban growth area, and those numbers are approximate, but taking about 60 for a swap of about 40.
Okay, all right.
So the TRPC presentation was timely. We, as longtime residents, really enjoy the intentions and the goals that were created by Sustainable Thurston. This slide comes right out of Sustainable Thurston, and we believe our proposal will help the community and Thurston County meet many of those objectives. We intend to create a vibrant center, a corridor with close proximity to neighborhoods, acknowledging that growth in population and tax revenue is important for our community. We want to be environmental stewards, and we want to be conscientious of environmental risks and be respectful in the design and development of ours, and also help mitigate future development threats on more vulnerable areas such that we've proposed to take out. And then, of course, we think that there will be some economic benefit to the community in terms of impact fees, jobs, housing units, property taxes, and retail sales tax generation, all of which, again, really meet the expectations and targets of Sustainable Thurston. Our project has been analyzed by the EDC, and this on the right is just a kind of a blown up version of this area of Michael Cade's letter. But as you can see, there are many commas and zeros associated with the revenue this project will bring, both in terms of direct and indirect jobs and municipal tax revenue. They're talking millions and millions of dollars and total output for our community of about $40 million in positive benefit. This map shows different zoning areas of South Tumwater. The dark blue is the airport. Many of these areas have been developed with residential housing, but you've got a window down in this triangle that's in the existing urban growth area, but does not have access to urban utilities, mainly sewer and water, of course. And all of these are very small parcels, none of whom can individually afford to invest in the utility extension. Salish Landing, our proposal involves this number 86 in the corner. And through private investment, we intend to extend the city water and sewer down to the southeast corner if we're able to become part of the urban growth area through the UGA land swap. This would help the city of Tumwater's utility infrastructure create the loop, and they are intending to have a 16-inch loop all around the city at some point that helps balance water supply. It creates fire flow opportunities, and our investment would bring those utilities down to the corner, southeast corner, and in a very meaningful way, we would provide access to all of those small parcels to join on to city water and sewer. That would greatly impact redevelopment and more density in those areas. Bring, in addition to the 200 housing units our project will bring, this will cultivate opportunity for a lot more housing to come to this corridor. And we think that that's a very important offsite benefit. Also, the city of Tumwater has purchased a piece of land right about where this 59 is for a south end water tower, and our private investment will save the city's investment in bringing that water tower online significantly. So we want to be a great partner to the utility departments at Tumwater. This next slide shows the yellow area represents areas that have been developed since 1996 following GMA. And you can see there's an idle corner to the southeast of that area that simply hasn't developed. And that is a result of a lack of utilities. The only significant presence there is the Melody Pines Mobile Home Park, and they have over 100 individual septic systems from, well, just varying levels of function and reliability. But another offsite opportunity from our investment and our project coming to fruition would be an opportunity for Melody Pines to vacate well over 100 septic systems and put those into the city sewer system, which would be an environmental great win. Any questions? Yes.
Councilmember Swarthout.
So you're proposing then the area that's Melody Pines currently has, you just say has 100 septics. And so are you saying that you'd pay for the connection costs for those 100 units, for the decommission and connection costs for those 100 units that are currently there? Is that what you're proposing? If we, extending the water down and then connecting it to the Barras Holdings, is that what you're proposing?
I'm saying by extending the utilities down Old Highway 99, we would present an opportunity for systems like Melody Pines and the many other parcels. I believe there's 62 other parcels that would benefit from that utility extension. And that creates and cultivates opportunity for infill housing and redevelopment on those parcels that otherwise would not have access to those city utilities for decades to come.
Councilmember Agabi.
Thank you, Mayor. So as it relates to all those 100 or so septic tank, what kind of environmental impact analysis or study have been done regarding our groundwater in that particular area?
As a working group, we have hired a hydrogeologist to study groundwater wells in the area, and we have committed to funding an environmental impact study that Thurston County is undertaking, and that will provide all of the data and analytics, not just for hydrogeologic, but also groundwater and utility extensions and more knowledge on transportation impacts, the preliminary transportation studies that have been done. Again, referring to Sustainable Thurston, there will be a reduction in miles traveled per capita. We have over 2,200 Tumwater households within 2 miles of this site, none of whom have access to simple household amenities or urgent care. They're driving much, much further distances for simple supplies. So this will keep people closer to home. And we've also partnered with the South Sound YMCA. And we'll be bringing a new YMCA to the community, meeting the YMCA's growth goals to accommodate their Briggs facilities currently well over capacity, and this will also allow them to serve greater Thurston County outside of Tumwater by reaching East Olympia and Scott Lake and the Tonino community with their endeavors to serve rural communities. So this really is a partnership from a nonprofit, from private investment, from municipal interests at Tumwater, from Thurston County. And we've also been very, very blessed with strong support from local tribes on this project.
So I see a question from Councilmember Von Holst, and then go to Councilmember Doha.
Thank you, Mayor. So I feel like this is a very well-planned meeting because we just heard from Katrina about the goal of, reducing greenhouse gas emissions and increasing people's use of transit. I'm wondering if you all have been in contact with Intercity Transit about expanding bus service out to this area if this should develop.
One of my next slides, just a little bit early, but we certainly have been in contact with Intercity Transit. One of the unique things about this site is that we can offer to be a pivot point for Intercity Transit. And when they create a new bus route, they're currently stuck at Tumwater Boulevard. They don't have a south end turnaround point. And so this is a conceptual drawing of Sailor's Landing that was put together by an architect firm that we hired and with a ton of input from local tribes on the look and the feel of the development. But for Intercity Transit, we can be that pivot point to the south. The other thing it'll enable is residents of these 2,200 homes, and this could be an older development like Bush Prairie or Bridlewood. This could be some of the newer developments to the south. But those residents are not eligible for dial-a-lift, which can be a lifeline for many aging in the community. And so by getting a transit route as far south as Salish Landing would also enable and make eligible the residents for dial lift, which we believe is a real blessing and opportunity for our community.
I might just also add rural transit goes down Highway 99 also at the present time, so. Councilmember Stallhoff.
Thank you, Mayor. So in this area, with this proposed project and where it's located, where is that relative to the school district, right? And the property that they have, and they have forecasted that they need to build a school down there. Where is that in relation to that? And then what would be the impact of your project with their proposed school?
The school district is one of a few districts in Western Washington that does need new facilities. They're really shy, most especially on elementary school facilities. They currently own 2 areas of property, and does my cursor work? So they own land right in this area here, and then they own this triangular piece on the corner. And so we're literally across the street, and they would be another huge beneficiary of our utility extension. When they built Black Hills High School, they built that entire complex for about 21 million. And in today's dollars, just to build an elementary school, they're looking at a little over 50 million on their most recent budget estimate that they shared with us. And so they are well aware that one of their cost burdens is the utility extension, and again, getting the sewer and water down there as a result of our investment would benefit the school district also. So thank you for asking. Oh shoot, there I go. Sorry.
Well, Mike, while you're doing technology, can I ask another question of, in this, where that parcel is, did part of that land used to be in Tumwater UGA?
No. Yes. So the Tumwater urban growth area used to be bigger. There was a lawsuit. I mean, it's probably 15 years ago. And it was decided in a court ruling that the Tumwater urban growth area was too large for the forthcoming 20 years. And so the land on the south side of 93rd Avenue, from this pivot point right here over to our land, was chopped off. And so it was a very convenient, it met the acreage requirement for the reduction for the lawsuit. And so by unfortunate just random choice for us, none of our property, but the bottom, this half right here used to be in the urban growth area. So it was deeper than this line right here, but it literally cut our property in half. And so that we haven't really talked much about that, for better or worse, but the reality is, yes, this did used to be a little over half in the urban growth area previously. And it's really unusual for a major corridor road like 93rd Avenue to be the split line. It is far more common for the first parcels on both sides of the road to be in an urban growth area. And they mainly set that up because there's such a large investment in putting the water and sewer mains down the middle of that road that parcels on both sides should benefit from access. And you know, in this particular case, the road's kind of half the county and half Tumwater, and that's a little bit unusual too, but yes.
Councilmember Jefferson, and then Councilmember Kathy. You're on mute. Okay.
I answered my entire question. I asked my entire question too. But thanks for the update. Is this your first big development like this in Thurston County?
This would be our largest commercial, but I think I'll let Rob answer that question. Rob's done a ton of development in the city of Tumwater, so.
All right.
Mike's partner. Mike is kind of the face of this project, so most of you have met Mike, and he does a great job at it. I've been building residential projects in Thurston County for close to 40 years. I think my first project in Tumwater was about 25 years ago, the Bridlewood project up there on 79th. I've probably built close to 1,000 homes within 2 miles of the bar holding site. And right now we have probably another 1,000 homes going in over on kind of a Little Rock Road, Kershaw Road. I'm also with another partner in the process of building out the remaining parcels of the Craft District. So most of what I do is residential. I've built probably 4,000 homes residential in Thurston County, but now I'm starting to convert over to commercial and have several commercial projects. This is a large project. This would be by far the largest project that, as a singular project, that Mike and I have ever done. But cumulatively, we've done projects of larger scope than this if you add them all up.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm excited to see it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kathy and then Councilmember Althauser.
Okay, thank you. I was just looking at the map, and on that are all of the yellow things that you have drawn on there where you're doing development. Like when I look at the yellow going down Tilley Road toward Miller Sylvania State Park, are you? Does it extend? What is that there that has to do with your project?
We're trying to illustrate the areas that have developed since the urban GMA was established in 1996. So there's been significant development, much of which has been in the last 10 years. And Rob has built many of the homes over here along Old Highway 99. But we were trying to illustrate that there's a corridor here, kind of a dead zone in the southeast, that's made up of much smaller parcels. So this area that's yellow were much larger parcels and much easier to make the investment in utility extension because there would be a large enough number of homes involved to economically be feasible. Down here in the southeast corridor, because the utility extension has not occurred, and these are all small parcels that can't on their own invest in the utility extension. That's why we believe we will be the cultivator of infill housing to fill this triangle and allow them to redevelop, because the utilities will then be available.
So so your plan includes Miller Sylvania State Park, the area around it? Is that what I'm seeing on the map?
Significantly south, like a couple miles south on Tilley Road, down below the screen. Miller Sylvania is not on here at all. Do you know where the Thurston County shop is?
Absolutely.
It's right here on Tilley Road, on the west side of Tilley.
It's on the west side. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about that area, that north of. I'm confused about what you're building that shows that Tilley Road goes down through there and then turns around the park there. Is that right or no?
No.
Okay, my council mates say no.
South down the Old Navy Lane towards Tenino, and Great Western Supply. There's just to the east of the pink bar holding site.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Althauser.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess I just sort of want to ask a question about clarification of the utilities piece. So we're building a water tower down this way and are anticipating doing, a 16-inch main on some of these things. So when you talk about utility extension, does that come in the form, and this might be a question for our staff, I'm not sure. I don't think Dan's on though. Does that come in the form of like, if we do a 16-inch main as a result of the water tower project, like latecomer fees for the little portion that abuts that? Or are you also then talking about extending the 16-inch main kind of beyond to where we go out of the screen? Because that is a project that is on our long-term plan that we're going to attempt to do bonding for. So I guess I'm just sort of curious how that interacts with the plans that we already had to build that water tower, to make sure, like some of the stuff that you touched on earlier about making sure we have fire flow, eventually getting a fully connected loop and system. That's in our long-term goals and is going to be an incredible asset to the city. So that's sort of what I'm curious about, is those extensions with our pre-existing plans.
Here about where it says holdings, this is where the city has acquired property for the water tower. And in terms of being realistic, it probably sits on the dead end water line up to that water tower for the foreseeable future. Like if the city built this, and I'm speculating, but they would connect right here to bring that online. What they wouldn't proactively do is invest in this loop connecting around the triangle. And that's really important for just water flow and avoiding stagnation and everything else. And so we would do a significant part of that 16-inch water extension to get it down to this corner, which would help the city have the loop that, as you clearly understand, is critical to having a robust and secure water system.
Okay. And the triangle at 93rd and Old Highway 99, you were discussing that earlier, and the argument there is that by association, by development of these other areas, that becomes more attractive to other developers for some of these smaller parcels. So by warrant of that being more attractive, that means they could be developed, then you achieve economies of scale to further extend sort of the 16-inch main. Is that accurate?
You can see all the little individual parcel lines in here.
Yeah.
So those are all of which are ripe for development. Maybe it's fourplexes, maybe it's duplexes. It's higher density than single family residential, and it could also be multifamily with a much higher unit. But either way, none of those parcels individually could extend the utilities, where our project, which is over $150 million to build, can afford to make that investment to bring our project to fruition. But we're proud to celebrate the offsite benefits to the community and all this other goodness that could be generated by those utilities being in place.
Yeah, as a developer myself, I drive by these parcels. I live out in East Olympia, so I drive by those parcels with all the red dots every day for the last 20 years and have no interest in them. But the minute there's sewer and water in front of them, I'll be knocking on their doors, as will every other.
Yeah, and I certainly cannot speak as intelligently on all of this as Dan can. Dan's on well-deserved annual leave, but I'll take just a brief stab at that. Councilmember Althauser, well, first of all, as a rate-based system, any connection into the system, we're building that water reservoir to accommodate future growth, and so any growth on the system itself is in effect paying for that through connection fees and through providing the revenue, because this will likely be a revenue bond project that pays back that capital investment. When we have developers who are able to and or willing to participate, collaboratively in the actual construction project at the same time or the same place, oftentimes we find ways and economies of scale to incorporate that. We do have plans, for example, to extend and loop that 16-inch water main, but I believe we show it in phases. So if, as they are coming online and we're moving forward with our project and we can collaborate with them, it can help our phasing analysis. It can help, like I said, with economies of scale and try to bring the system up sooner. And I would, responding to a earlier question about water quality, getting septic systems off of onto sewer, especially in dense areas like mobile home parks, is definitely going to be a benefit to the water quality for our domestic water system. So that is an added benefit that of getting any place where you can get those higher density developments connected to sewer. That's a positive.
Thank you.
Say Dan Smith, you guys are very fortunate to have him. His knowledge of these utilities and water is really brilliant, and he's a great asset to the community and the city of Tumwater. So I would say that if he was here too. So I wanted to last share these renderings that BCRA put together. They were done in cooperation with this and a lot of guidance from the Squaxin Island tribe. It's our intent to bring cultural awareness, and so you can see the longhouse designs, a lot of native landscaping, color schemes that were driven by visits to local tribal facilities, and then some multifamily housing. So what we're undergoing right now is not a project level application. These are all conceptual. But we are on our end very deep into planning and architecture and engineering and utility studies and budgeting for those extensions. So we thought it was important to share that this is a genuine vision, which clearly shows the new YMCA too. We're really excited to donate that land to the YMCA and participate in the capital raise, and we really think it will complement some of the endeavors of the city with your community center, and really enriching kids and seniors and everybody in our community by having these fun places to recreate and live and keep people closer to home, and join some of the walkability targets. We don't throw our personal names around, but I can tell you for Rob and I, this is a legacy project. We are very, very proud of it. We hope to gain your support. And I also want to reiterate that this consideration for the UJ land swap is really tied to the 10-year periodic update. So like we have no time to burn here, and we're just pleased with the opportunity to share and answer questions, and hope to gain your support.
So Councilmember Dolhoff, I saw Councilmember Agabi. Did you have a question? I'll put you in. Okay, and then I'll go to Councilmember Agabi, then Councilmember Althausen.
Thank you, Mayor. You can tell that there's been a lot of thought on this and planning. Can you put in that timeline when you first started conversing with Tumwater about this development? Just to give us the rundown of the engagement you've had with the city.
So first, brought this concept of developing this property to Tumwater in 2018, I think it was. About right. Rob and I met with Mike Matlock and talked about long-term planning and the infrastructure build out. So it's literally been 7 years, I think. So it's been a long time coming. We originally made application for changes to the UGA to Thurston County in 2021. So there's probably 3 years of just cultivating feedback from community and seeking input from engineers and hydrogeologists and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service related to pocket gophers, and they've given the property the full blessing with 3 trips to the site. So it all took a long time, but since 2018, I guess, to answer your question.
Councilmember Gabi, then Councilmember Althauser, and I see Councilmember Jefferson's hand also.
Thank you, Mayor. So you talked about the YMCA for selfish reason. Do you know if they plan to have an aquatic center over there? Because we don't need one in this area.
Very proud to show this right here. This glass building has 2 swimming pools in it. And then it's kind of hard to see here, but you can see kind of a slide here, and this is called a zero entry water park. And so you're not submerged, your feet aren't even submerged, but it's all the spray toys and recreation outdoors. This would be fenced, obviously, just for clarity. We didn't show the fence around the outdoor play park. But yes, 2 indoor pools. And if you were standing in that building, looking out the pitched glass wall, you would be looking right at Mount Rainier. It's a beautiful setting.
That's very good news. Thank you.
Councilmember Althauser.
Thanks. This might be a question for Lisa. I'm just not totally certain what the council's role is in this process. Could you explain what we would actually take action on? Like my understanding from a land swap for UGA was that it's an executive function, but what do we actually as a council end up voting on?
Yeah, so that's a complicated question, but I'll do my best. Currently this is an application to the Thurston County Commissioners. Thurston County Commissioners under the Growth Management Act take the legislative action to set an urban growth boundary wherever it may be. And in this case, they also would make the final decision on the UGA swap, as I understand it. There was some evaluation, there was some discussion late last year by the Urban Growth Subcommittee about UGA swaps and how they occur. There's some guidance being currently developed by Department of Commerce around how to accomplish UGA swaps. And so depending on what the outcome of that might be, there could be an opportunity for the council to be asked to sign an interlocal agreement with the county that would talk about how potentially a UGA swap would be completed or accomplished. I don't know how that timing works with the current process that they're in right now. I have a feeling that the current process that they're in right now is going to proceed before that guidance is necessarily done, which is totally the county's call. What I currently understand their process is, they are entering into, as Mike mentioned, they're going to be completing a supplemental environmental impact statement. So we will definitely be commenting from a technical standpoint. But eventually it could be that the council would have to enter into an interlocal agreement. It could be that the county commissioners might want some statement or some position to be known or communicated from the legislative body of the city of Tumwater. So until there's actually a final decision on the UGA, and until there would potentially be an annexation of some sort, if that were successful, the city council would then take action, for example, on the annexation. So there's nothing pending currently. It's totally in the county's legislative authority at this point. But we felt like it was important to keep the council up to date and up to speed in case there was any potential action that would be requested.
So we would, if the county did that, we would have to annex? I thought that was a different thing, like annex brings you into the actual boundaries, not the UGA.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to annex. They could choose to annex. And sometimes that's preferable because our processes are sometimes easier and more timely when it comes to development review. The other issue is we prefer to have our development regulations implemented inside our urban growth area so that when we do annex that there's consistent development pattern. But at this point, there wouldn't be an obligation to annex, but that would definitely be an option if the UGA swap were to occur.
Okay. So TBD for us, councilmatically.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Jefferson, did you still have a question? or-
Yes, I did. Well, just a statement, just to thank you to the gentlemen, Mr. Rob and Mr. Mike, for your vision. This took a lot of thought and a lot of planning. I appreciate that. It's going to be beautiful. I like the fact that you involved the tribes in the design, and I'm really excited about this, and I hope it happens fairly quickly. Thanks.
Councilmember Swarthout.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to let Councilmember Althauser know that I'm the representative for Tumwater of the UGM subcommittee. And so we did meet in August originally to discuss this issue. And then we received an email back in March from Allison Osterberg giving us an update as far as where we were on it. And so what had happened, that the board is still considering changes to the countywide planning policies related to the urban growth area boundary changes, UGA swaps. They've agreed to postpone to take action until the changes of the Washington State Department of Commerce finalizes the rulemaking process currently underway that will update administrative rules for the sections of the state law that discuss the UGA swaps. And then changes to the countywide planning policies that address the UGA land swaps may be brought back to the UGM subcommittee for additional review, depending on the outcome of the state's process. So that's what I have so far. That's what was sent to us from the county as far as the swap process or the timing on this, the potential swap.
Great, thank you. Is there any other questions? So this presentation was more informational. So, because it gets really confusing sometimes where everything is at and who's doing what. So this was just more informational so that Mike Brewer and Rob Rice could present the project and what's presented. And so if there is any action from council, you'll definitely be notified and keep up on the process. So Mike, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
Lots of conversations, and they've been very responsive at different levels. Brad and Mike and the mayor and certainly Lisa. So it's been a great partnership and a lot of good communication and just seeking things that are in the community's best interest. So I know there's going to be a lot of legwork coming up for the city staff to participate in the county's process, which seems a little bit disjointed, but the input and the participation from the city is certainly critical to keeping this moving forward as part of the 10-year periodic review. So thanks for all you've done, and thanks for all we hope you'll continue to do as we hopefully bring Salish Landing and a UGA swap to Tumwater.
Great, thank you. I always figure information is always useful. So, all right, if there's no other questions, we will move to the next item on our agenda, which is the Police Department Annual Report. And Acting Chief Mason will be presenting.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Let me hit the share button here. How's that look?
That looks good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for this opportunity. I've been tasked with telling you about the Tumwater Police Department, what we accomplished in 2024 and where we're going in 2025. And I have been given about 5 or 10 minutes to do this. So hold on, we're going to go fast. I will have, there's plenty of time at the end to answer questions. So let's go into 2024. Talk about who we are. At full staff in 25-26, we're at 48 FTEs. We are currently staffed at 43 of those FTEs. So we're obviously, we still have a Chief Wicks, but he's on leave. And then we also are missing one patrol officer, a front office supervisor, our tech sergeant, which will chaperone and lead our body worn camera project, and then a front office position that will also support the body worns. So one chief, one deputy chief, 3 lieutenants, and an admin manager make up our command staff. We really have an amazing command staff at Tumwater PD. It's a group that I'm proud of, and I really feel I believe you should be as well. For supervision, we have 8 sergeants and 1 record supervisor. 8 sergeants are made up of 6 patrol sergeants, 1 detective sergeant, and then eventually we will hire and move someone into the body-worn camera tech sergeant role. Frontline staff, 19 patrol officers, 5 detectives, 3 general detective positions, 2 school resource officers, and then we have 5 front office, 1 management analyst is Doc Bowers, and then 2 code enforcement transport officers and 1 evidence tech. We are broken up into 4 separate divisions. Our patrol division, that's a backbone of our organization. That's the one that most people are aware of. Provide 24/7 coverage, 2 squads, 9 officers per shift, 3 sergeants, 6 patrol officers. We also have, part of our patrol division is reactive response, 911 calls for service, also proactive response, community engagement, high visibility. We also have in our patrol operations our metro, our traffic officer, and then our canine officer. Investigations detectives are major case detectives, and they do just a variety of they handle a variety of cases and support services for patrol operations. 2 school resource officers, 1 dedicated to Tumwater High School and the feeders, 1 dedicated to Black Hills High School and all the feeders, as well as our evidence tech. We also have a training and technology division, coordinates all of our department training, internal and external. This is a key role for us as far as understanding and moving technology forward. This is where our body-worn camera project will live and thrive. They also oversee our equipment and fleet management. We have about 40 vehicles in our fleet for different purposes, as well as just all the technology, computers, MCTs, equipment that officers need to be able to do the jobs in a modern policing environment. And then finally, also our code enforcement division. That falls under our training division as well, and they handle the health and safety code enforcement issues for the city of Tumwater. We also have our admin division. They handle records management, public disclosure requests, and that's where Doc Bowers lives. How we responded in 2024, about 19,000 calls for service. It's about 53 calls for service per day. And that's everything from a traffic stop to a major assault investigation. It runs the gamut of what police work is and how we respond. 878 arrests and referrals, and then 1,567 records requests were handled by our front office. And those are actual records requests that someone has to put hands on. Those aren't some of the automated requests like collision reports. Those are actual, there's time and work put into some of these, into every one of these. Some of these can be handled in a matter of minutes. Some of them take weeks and potentially even months to fulfill, depending on the size and scope of the records request. What we accomplished in 2024. We completed our strategic growth plan. It's a key document, a key set of goals to help us guide ourselves into the future. As you know, Tumwater is growing substantially. Police work is changing almost as substantially. And so we want to have a guiding document to help us navigate this and give our organization and you as council and our community the confidence in how we're moving forward. One of the things I'm really most proud of about that document was it was put together with focus group input from our community. to try to understand what was important to them, what kind of policing services are they looking for, and where would they see us going in the future. This is a huge accomplishment for us. Number two, we actually in 2024 came close to being at full staff for the first time in several years. And we achieved that goal, full staffing, for about a week in 2025. But we're working towards it. And it's something that is one of our primary drivers, is maintaining high levels and high standards for the officers and the staff that we bring into the Tumwater Police Department, because our community deserves nothing less than the very best. Doc Bowers, Deputy Chief Keelis, and myself presented a evidence-based presentation at IACP in Boston. Doc Bowers was the driver for it. And the concept was, how do you use evidence-based processes in small agencies? It was very well received, and it put Tumwater PD on the map as far as providing concepts at a high level to a national audience. We closed 24 code enforcement cases in 24. And so a closed case is a case that we were able to resolve. And so we're proud of being able to work with homeowners, landowners, property owners to achieve those desired outcomes. Our officers attended almost 3,800 hours of training. Tumwater PD has always had a high level and a high tradition of providing training to our officers, and we want to not only just maintain that and our front office staff, but in this modern policing society, training is not only required, but it's, I guess required and necessary are, synonymous, but it's required by CJTC, but it's also necessary for us to be successful and provide quality services to our community. We contracted for a new records management system. Tumwater PD is the lead agency for the LERMS Consortium, which includes Thurston County, Olympia, Lacey, us, and Yelm. Anyone who's installed a records management system know that it's a daunting process, but we're excited to be able to take the lead on this. We also worked with TCOM to implement a new radio system. Where we're going in 25. 25 is a foundational year for the Tumwater Police Department. It was before Chief Wicks announced his retirement, and it still is, even in keeping that in mind. So part of our strategic growth plan was helping to increase and sustain our staffing levels. In the 25-26 budget, we requested 8 additional police officers to help us maintain our staffing levels and to meet some of the strategic goals that were identified by our community. None were funded. We recognize fiscal constraints, so we just wanted you to recognize that we have asked for additional staffing to help keep us moving forward. The other thing that we've talked about with police staffing specifically is from the time you start a testing process to the time someone comes out the other end and is able to operate independently is about 18 months. And the time it takes for them to operate at a level that we consider acceptable or functional is about 22 to 30 months, depending on their life skills and what they bring to the organization as they start. So one of the things we were able to implement is an improved communication plan. We want to connect better with our community. We understand the driver and the value and the power of social media and being able to tell our story. And so we're making improvements in that way. We've increased visibility within our community. And a key example of that was at the Easter egg dash over the weekend. In previous years, we had staffed that with 2 officers, and mostly that was just to kind of help, park staff and with missing children and kind of keep everything flowing. We also staffed it with 2 additional officers, and they brought a police vehicle in. And I am proud to say that we had a longer line of kids waiting to take a picture with our officers in the police vehicle than with the Easter Bunny. So I'm not making any disparaging remarks about the Easter Bunny, but you know, we were more popular. So I talked about the retirement of Chief Wicks. You know, he's been with the organization for 37 years. A big impact for us losing him, but we do have succession planning in place. Since March 1st, we have, you know, I've been put in place. The acting deputy chief has been put in place. We've completed a testing process for acting lieutenant. We've completed a testing process for acting sergeant. We currently have 5 officers in training, 2 at CJTC, 1 going to CJTC, 1 just starting FTO, and another one that should be starting FTO within the next month. Besides that, we're currently working with HR on 5 separate civil service-based hiring processes for lieutenant, sergeant, front office positions, and then we're also partnering with IT to fill a key IT role to support technology and body-worn cameras. Talked about a little bit about commitment to staff and hiring. We also have 2 technology initiatives that we're getting into and we're deep into. We're deep into the art records management system. Talked about that a little bit. And then we're also trying to get ourselves primed to move forward with the body-worn cameras project as quickly as we can. And that's really driven by selecting the tech sergeant to give us margin and capacity so we can make a selection and move forward with implementation. And then facility expansion. As we're growing, as we're taking on additional opportunities and responsibilities, we need some space. Parks is in the process of moving out from the basement area of City Hall. And then we have to upfit that space to meet our needs with security, technology, and office space. So I know that was probably a little bit more than the 5 or 10 minutes I was allotted, but that is my presentation. I can continue sharing screens if someone has a question about a specific slide, or I could stop so we can just talk.
Councilmember Dalhoff.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Acting Chief Mason. I have 2 questions. One regarding the technology. I didn't see Flock, and why I asked that is you presented in a neighborhood yesterday and talked about Flock, and so I'm wondering if you can share with council what you talked about Flock yesterday.
Of course. I did a presentation or discussion at the Western Plaza Mobile Home Park, and one of the members actually asked me about license plate reader systems. And so I said, she asked me if I was in favor of those type of systems. And I said, generally, yes. I said, one of the things that in police work, we just talked about, you know, the need, the ability to add 8 additional police officers to our agency for different reasons, and the funding just isn't there. So we need to look at different technologies to see how we can increase capacity and service to our community. I think there's some value in license plate readers, especially a system like Flock. I believe it was demonstrated clearly in a recent arrest of a homicide suspect that was really driven by a Flock camera hit. But we also said that before we would move forward with that, 1, we need to get some traction on the body-worn camera systems, and then 2, we told council that we would come to you and have a discussion on the technology and some of the opportunities and some of the guardrails. So that's how it came up. It was actually brought up by the HOA at Western Plaza, and so it was just a discussion that we had.
Right. I'd like to follow up with you on that. The other thing is when that does come back to public health and safety, which I appreciate, is the questions that public health and safety had prior was who has access, right? The external agencies, and then what it's used for, not just for reading license plate for stolen vehicles, right? And also the time that data is held. So if you could circle those in when you come back, that would be awesome. My second question is regarding facility expansion, and why wouldn't Tumwater look at getting space in the Thurston County Sheriff's building that's moving 1 block down, which the whole building would be secured and have technology and cheaper rent? Why wouldn't Tumwater look at partnering with the sheriff's office?
I think we're always looking for partnerships. I won't speak about facilities because we don't own, the police department doesn't own our facilities. All I would say is that I believe the sheriff's office, that facility will not be operational until sometime in 26, if I'm not mistaken. And we need some space now. So we're going to use, and the space that we're using downstairs, honestly, it's temporary space. We do need to look at, I think that, I won't speak for the city manager or the mayor, but we need to look at how do we partner or look at larger facilities or different facilities as the city grows. The police department would absolutely look for different partnerships, but I think that this was just an opportunity that we saw to utilize space that we have. It's actually fairly inexpensive to convert. And then look at, I would expect us to come up with a long-term facilities plan for all city operations, including the police department.
So just to confirm, you as acting chief are not opposed to looking at opportunities to partner and collaborate with the Thurston County Sheriff's Office?
Not at all. One of the very first things I did is, as I was stepping into my role as acting chief, was I went and talked to the executives of all partner agencies, and I told them that I want to find ways that the police department can partner with your agencies in different ways. I didn't really specifically think about facilities, but because we need to find ways to maximize efficiencies and maximize service to our community, because we just can't continue to operate the way we have been long term. I don't know that it's fiscally responsible to do that. And I want to make sure that the city of Tumwater has the best operational capacity that we can provide.
Perfect. I appreciate your opportunity to look at partnerships and collaborating.
Councilmember Kathy.
Thank you, Mayor. Jay, last council meeting, I was on Zoom. I did not even know that you were in the room. And when the mayor announced that you were going to be the acting chief, I was very pleased by that. And just on my own was at home clapping and doing such things. I won't talk about my dancing, but I wanted here at this council work session and for others to hear that I supported you wholeheartedly. I think it was a very good choice. And I hope that we as a council work with you and the police department, and as part of 2025, when you give your report in 2026, you will say it was one of the most collaborative years that you had with the council and the staff. So I'm proud of you. Just don't get too haughty, because now and then I have other things that might impact people's lives to talk to you about, like helping others that you do. So,
Councilmember Kathy, I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that when I came on screen today, you didn't yell at me or yell the word. That was very appreciated. But honestly, I've appreciated our working partnerships throughout the years. I appreciate your heart. My driver in stepping into this role is just to serve our community. I have a great love for Tumwater. My wife and I have decided to, we want to invest in Tumwater. My wife works for a nonprofit here. Our kids go to school here. We're here. So as long as I have value to this organization, I'll serve it with the best of my ability.
thanks, Jay.
Thank you. Councilmember Althauser.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I didn't have an opportunity to attend the council meeting last week, but thankfully my non-council obligations are waning down gratefully. So I wasn't able to be at the meeting last week where that was announced. So I'd be remiss if I didn't also offer my heartfelt gratitude to you, Jay, on a job well earned, and also extend my congratulations and my excitement for you to be appointed into this space. I think you said it really well, Councilmember Kathy, that it's evident your care and your empathy and your care for our community. You wear it on your sleeve every day, and also approach the job with just the utmost professionalism. And I've always appreciated that about you. And I think this is an exciting time for the city. So thanks.
I really appreciate that coming from you. That means a lot.
Councilmember Swartha.
Thank you, Mayor. I too want to join in on congratulations. I did have a question that looking at what the plan for it's just when you first entered police, your police duties as your initial police officer, and that how different policing now from the time you started to the time we are now. And I continually, I'm such a mom, but I just kind of worry about the people being out there and the kinds of things that you are facing, and then being part psychologist and part social worker and part all of that's all factored in, just not just in the keeping our residents safe, but everything else that's added to it. And just want to share, see what you think about that, and just share our appreciation for the work that you put in.
Thank you, council member. When I was hired here in 93, there were about 9,000 residents of the city of Tumwater. And obviously, we're 27,000, and just completely changed our demographics and the population that we serve. I appreciate your kind words, but those are really for our frontline officers, the men and women that go out there and do the job every day. How they are engaging with our community is a whole different level. They are problem solvers of the highest magnitude. And I just am honored to be able to work beside them and support them in what they do. What they accomplish with the resources that they're given and the challenges that they face is super impressive. And I do appreciate, the words you have for them.
Thank you. Councilmember Dahlhoff.
Thank you, Mayor. Speaking of community engagement, there's a rumor that I heard that the school district is looking to have the Thurston County Sheriff's Office apply for the SRO contract. Have you heard that?
I've heard it as a rumor. We've had some like a sideline conversation with school district employees, and they have not heard that. I haven't talked to the sheriff's office about that. There is a little bit of friction, I guess, to say, with the between us and the school board, the school district right now, in how we've supported some of their operations, and I'm working at trying to clean some of that up and iron it out. We're fully committed to the Tumwater school district and what we do with them. I think, and I told them, I said, long-term health of a community, high functioning, thriving school district is one of our most important assets. And I want to be part of supporting what they're doing. So I've heard the rumor, but at this point, I don't know that I'm not aware of there being anything to that.
I would love an update if you hear more about that. And do we know when the renewal of our contract with the school district for the SRO, is that coming up sooner rather than later?
So the contract is up at the end of this year. I started conversations with the school district earlier this year. And at that time, they said they had no thoughts of not renewing it. So we're in the process of putting it together, updating salary and benefit numbers, and then we will present that to the school district and the school board.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Agabi.
Thank you, Mayor. Commander Mason, again, congratulations to you. And in terms of the flock camera, if I remember correctly, when that issue came before the Public Health and Safety Committee, we had to table that because at the time it came about in the budget and was not mentioned specifically. But since we have issue with the data that will be captured, we had said that that should come back at a later date. But my memory may be fuzzy on how that came up. Do you know?
So there were some questions about how the data would be captured and utilized, and we just needed to have a bigger discussion. Right now, as much as I like the concept of it, we don't have the capacity to implement the flock system at this time. So this really, I mean, when it came up at the HOA meeting yesterday, I was kind of surprised because this had been tabled. You're right, it was included in the budget, but that's a really a place. I don't want to. It's not just a placeholder. It's a project that we believe has some value, but we also recognize that it's something that would be implemented down the road, and it's also something that we would want to have a deeper discussion with you about, so that we would all feel comfortable if we decided to move forward with the project. So this is not something that we were looking at, engaging in anytime soon. I'm not sure how this came up with that HOA, but I was glad to have that discussion.
Thank you. So if I hear you correctly, I'm not, I don't expect you to bring up any flocking issue in the near future unless our city administrator put that back in the budget, and then we have to talk about all of the other issues regarding the data, right?
Well, it's in the budget. It just, we're not going to take action on it until we're able to move forward with our records management system, our body worn camera system.
Gotcha.
And so that's, months down the road at least. It's not something that I'm looking at addressing.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Kathy and then Councilmember Dolphin.
Just quickly, Jay, I wanted to ask you if you see a difference in Tumwater's needs and police activities and how people feel and what you're looking at right now in this change at the federal level that we have experienced and need to plan, we don't know what, for the next 4 years at least. And I'm wondering if so many cities and towns and rural areas, so forth, notice a difference in some of the things that are happening in their city or people are concerned about, or so has some of that maybe not trickled but whizzed down to this level, or how are we doing?
At my level, I have conversations. I can sense some of the anxiety. At a frontline operations level, I don't know that there's a lot of impact. But I can do some inquiry, but I don't know that that's something that our officers, our sergeants specifically would have noted on a day-to-day basis. We provide the service we provide, and at the high level that our community deserves. And so, but I'll make some inquiry for you and see if there's some impacts.
Something I can help you with?
We shall see.
Just kidding. Thanks, Jay.
Councilmember Dolphin.
Thank you, Mayor. Jay, I want to make sure I just heard you correctly. You said flock system was in the budget. I thought we pulled that from the budget. So this goes back to Debbie shaking her head no, so it's not in the budget. Right?
No, it is if we didn't pull.
So I can
Wait,
provide, so flock cameras originally came up as a request for a budget amendment that we floated in 2024. That budget amendment was not approved. We pulled it out of the budget amendment request. In the budget that was proposed by the police department that was reviewed and approved for 25-26, the flock camera system was included in the budget. A budget just means that the money has been allocated and is available, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen. And Jay outlined all of the various things that come into play when making a decision about which pieces are moving forward in which priority order. So yes, the
right. This goes back to my request in March for the final budget and all those line items, because I would not have voted for the flock system until we work out all those kerfluffles, right? And have that policy worked out. So this is why it's really important for me to track all this stuff, is to have that final budget. And so do we also have a timeline on that? Because I missed that.
We have, so the flock camera would have been part of the schedules that were provided early in the budgeting process. It was a large PDF document, so it would have been included in that. I can go back and look at that and if you'd like. In terms of the final budget numbers, the detail, we have the numbers detail in a format that we believe is going to work. And we can send that out to you ahead of time, Councilmember Dahlhoff, so that you have all of that information. The information that is taking longer to put together is all of the narrative information that's at the front of the budget document that we're using as a model, which is the final budget that was published in the 2019-2020 biennium.
What I'm looking for, thank you, Lisa. What I'm looking for is not the narrative, but like what department, what line item, what goes to a good or a service, so I can track throughout the year. So when amendments come or there's opportunity if something comes up, right, and we have to adapt, where to propose items. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yes.
Multiple page narrative doesn't help me to track who's doing what. So in Flock, right, or the body worn cameras, right, when Jay presented a 2-year proposal but then said, oh, there's some things that we can cut. By tracking that, that's what I'm looking for, because I feel like I'm rudderless, not having our budget.
I will be sure to get you that detail as soon as possible then.
Are we looking at this month?
Well, this month ends next week, so I'm not gonna promise this month, but I can promise before the end of May. I believe finance has it done, and I will check with Troy and get back to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Lisa.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it. Now we're doing Mayor City Administrator report, and we will go to City Administrator Parks.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I will try to be quick. The mayor and I met with Amy Leneker this afternoon to talk about our strategic planning process. I'm really looking forward to working with her. She's a wonderful person, and I think she's highly skilled in this work. Brittany's been working with each of you to check on your availability on the 3 Saturday dates. A couple of you expressed a desire to have additional dates to choose from, so that's one of the things that we talked to Amy about today. So she's going to be rechecking her availability specifically for the May and the June dates. The September date appears to be good. We're waiting for one person to respond, but the other 6 are thumbs up for that date. So at this point, we've only asked her to take a look at the May and the June dates, and our ask of you is to keep the May 3rd and the June 21st dates on your calendar in pencil. But we are going to send a doodle poll out here very shortly as soon as Amy gets us that information to see if there is a better Saturday for one or both of those sessions that we can choose from. Recognizing we need to move forward with that pretty quickly. I didn't see who had their hand up first. If one of you.
Looks like Councilmember Von Holtz.
Okay.
Yeah, I really would like it if we had more choices. Being a consultant, I don't ever expect that my clients work by my schedule. It's what works best for council would seem like. So I would really like some more dates. Because I don't think 3 in such short notice, especially when we're going through such a busy time, is fair to any of us.
Councilmember Dahlhoff.
Thank you, Mayor. Lisa, I'm the 7th person who has not acknowledged the September date, because I can't do the September date. So I'm the one who can't do it. And that's why I was looking at other things, because I just feel like if this is for council, then council should be present. That's just my thing. Like, we should choose the dates that work for all of us, because it's a council retreat. And so I can't do the September one. So I'm the lone one who has not replied on that one.
Okay, well, if the reply is that you can't make it, then I'll ask Amy to take a look at other dates in September as well. I wasn't aware of that. We didn't have a response specifically, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
Yes, we are.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yes, we are. That's why we're providing the additional dates, is because of the input that you provided. And at the same time, Amy Leneker is a highly regarded person that does this work on a regular basis. And I think it's important that we work with her as well. So we are going to do that, and we will hopefully give you an opportunity to respond. And again, this process is really important, and it is important that you all are available if at all possible. And that's the goal in sending out some additional dates. So just some stats on this last busy weekend that just passed. Earth Day stats. So first of all, we had 43 volunteers. There were representatives from Black Hills High School, Tumwater High School, SPSCC, Thurston County Specialized Recreation, as well as the general public. Black Hills High School came in first place. They had the most kids there volunteering, and they got $1,000 from Park Foundation. And then Tumwater High School came in second, and they get the $500 from Park Foundation, which is always a lot of fun. The tree board was on site giving away trees and shrubs. I had it on good authority from Alyssa that we gave away 100 trees in just under 2 hours, which is awesome. And volunteers also removed a lot of ivy. They planted some trees, and they spread mulch and picked up garbage around Historical Park. And this Thurston County Specialized Recreation had offered some art activity, creating journals out of recycled paper. And then Mayor Sullivan, of course, spoke to the crowd, and Councilmember Swarthout was also stopped by to see how things were going. And then in terms of the Easter egg dash, 20,000 candy and prize filled eggs. 64 volunteers, took 125 hours to stuff those eggs. And I know at least a couple council members, Von Holtz and Councilmember Swarthout, helped with that process. Thank you very much. We had approximately 2,000 kids, ages from infants to 11 years old. Tumwater Arts was there with 160 art kits, excuse me. There were local businesses that donated over 6,000 coupons and prizes, 25 different volunteers. There were 3 different event sponsors, State Farm, Black Lake Bible Camp, and Toyota. And then the Easter Bunny was in attendance along with both of the high school mascots, and Tumwater Police, as Jay mentioned, was there, and they were a big hit. The last thing that I wanted to share with you is yesterday we had our third First Green program at Tumwater Valley Golf Course. This is a program that's been developed by the National Golf Superintendents Association. And what this program does, it's focused on youth who are STEM students. And then teachers come and they experience real world applications in math, science, and environmental studies in looking at management of golf courses. So we had 60 7th and 8th grade students from Tumwater Middle School and Bush Middle Schools. And they rotated through a variety of different stations. Some of those included, we had USDA Wildlife Services were on site. They talked a lot about how golf courses are wildlife sanctuaries and how we manage them and provide habitat. The USGA turf management folks were there talking about grasses and soil, root zones, and specialty grasses in terms of the maintenance in golf. And then our water resources staff were also there talking about water quality and soils and how the golf course is the largest user, I believe, of reclaimed water in the lot system. So it was a great process, really awesome program. Kudos to Eric Thompson, our superintendent. He is the champion of this program, and we actually had staff from several different golf courses in the region, all the way from Eugene to Tacoma to Canterwood Country Club. They attended in an observation mode because they're wanting to emulate and repeat this program at their golf courses. We're the only golf course right now doing this in the Pacific Northwest, if I understand correctly. So kudos to our golf staff and all of our other participants who are really, this is a really cool program, getting kids out and showing them applied practical purposes for studying hard on those math and science exams. So that's all I have at the moment, and unless there are any other questions.
Any questions? So I will just add that it was great being at the different events. Normally we don't have Easter Egg Dash and Earth Day, Arbor Day all on the same day. So it was a bit of a quick jog from one event to the next. So I really appreciate, and I do have to say that was one of those days where park staff was really had to cover a whole lot of very large events. So I really appreciate their work. And this basically kind of kicks off our events that will be coming up, and before you know it, it'll be midsummer and all the different things that will be going on. So with that, I don't have anything additional to add. And so right at almost 8 o'clock at 7:59, we are, oh, did you have something, Councilmember?
I have something I want to throw out, not
Okay.
necessarily for discussion. I brought it up last week and said I had a couple of items, but we were too late. We're too late tonight. So, but I'm just going to say that I've gotten some feedback that we might, or the staff might think about, as some people have some concerns about putting a charging station at the new development there by God, what's it called? You know where I mean.
On Little Rock Road, is that what you're talking about?
Pardon?
Are you talking about Little Rock Road area?
Yes, the putting a Tesla charging station there. They had some concern. Several people mentioned that to me. Should we rethink that? So that's all. And I just wanted to make sure that I threw that out for staff to talk about or us to think about. That's all.
Thank you. All right. With nothing else, we are adjourned for the evening at 8 o'clock. Thank you.